Here we are. Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here with you. This is a very timely topic as we talk about actionable strategies that create an EQ-enriched environment. I'm going to put my little timer on so that we have plenty of time at the end for our questions. We are going to have a little bit of a breakout for some experiential time together at the end. I do want to tell you that I can't cover it all in a few minutes. It takes lots of practice, and there's so much rich content for people to lead their organizations and work on creating an EQ-enriched workplace for you, for your staff, for your volunteers, for your fundraisers, the people who do fundraising, for your donors. And we're just going to scratch the surface, but I am going to give you a few things that you can use as soon as we're done with our time together. So very quickly, I do want to tell you, I'm going to share a little bit about my dreams and hopes for the world. The reason I do what I do is I'm very thankful. I am filled with gratitude for a wonderful career that I've had working with both for-profits, not-for-profits, and entrepreneurs. I've worked both on the staff side, the executive side, the client side, the board side, the volunteer side. So kind of a 360 view of what you all do as nonprofit professionals. This over here, the picture you see, is my big vision for the world, and that we all can start a ripple of hope by learning people-first communication, and not only in our organizations, but when we hear one another, because we know our style and we understand and see the style of others, and we are clear in our communication, we can really cause a change. We can cause peace. We can teach children how to hear one another and be seen, and teenagers, and we can work through conflict in a manner that doesn't cause hate and anger. So I'm going to give you some strategies and really invite you to take hold of a vision of a ripple of hope through people-first communication. I know it's big and lofty, but I believe it. So very quickly, my career, I just wanted to show you a little snapshot of some of the organizations that I've either worked for as an employee or that I've worked with as a consultant. This is just a highlight, but gives you an idea through logos of some of the work that I've done. Okay, let's begin. Everybody stand up. Yes, everybody stand up. Stand up. I went there, Brent did it, yay. So because we are discussing some fairly complex issues, we want our brain to be firing on all cylinders. Generally, we only have one hemisphere that's working, either a right hemisphere when we're in the creative mode or a left hemisphere when we're in the analytic mode. But there's this little white matter that you can see in the middle, and that is the nerve fiber that connects one hemisphere to the other. When you're children, and we've got children, we teach them to cross over the midline so that they can fire both. This is an exercise, if you really want everybody fully present, that you can use in your staff meetings and in your board meetings. So first thing, cross your hands, clasp your hands. Is your right thumb on top? If so, you're my righty. If you're a left thumb on top, you're a lefty. Okay, remember, because it matters. All right, everybody put your hands straight out, thumbs up. If you're a righty, cross your right hand over the left. If you're a lefty, left hand over the right. Now, turn your thumbs down and pinkies up. Grasp, pull into your body, hold tight. If you're a righty, cross your right foot over your left. If you're a lefty, cross your left foot over your right. Now, while we can't see it, what's happening is by crossing midline and holding this for a moment, we are firing neurons across both sides of the hemispheres, and we are awakening both sides of our brain. Once in a while, you might try, if you're like I am, and you can't remember somebody's name, but you know it's there, if you do this exercise, you may come up with a name faster than if you don't. Okay, hold it a few more moments. Perfect. Unlock, and you can sit down. We now have some neurons firing, so our whole brain is present, and here we go. So what the heck is EQ? You know, everybody's been talking about this buzzword. It stands for emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. But what I'm going to do before I tell you what EQ is, I'm going to tell you what it's not. So if you would put in the chat, yes or no. Yes or no, does everybody know where the chat is? Do you see yourself as a problem solver? And then Brent or Cindy, can you give me an idea of what we got going? Do we have problem solvers in the room?
We have a lot of problem solvers.
Okay.
Practically 100% of people are problem solvers.
I knew it. I anticipated that. So if you are a problem solver, you're not practicing EQ. That is an IQ approach. You are using your intelligence to look out, find a problem, and solve it. The problem with problem solvers, they're not people first. When we switch from intelligence to emotion, we go from problem, the intellectual pursuit of a problem and its solution, to people. EQ, or emotional intelligence, is people first. People can't be solved, and people can't be fixed by the work we do. So we need to switch the paradigm from are we problem solvers to are we people alignment solvers, aligning people to our mission and to the goals that we have so that we work together, and I'll talk about this later, as one. So moving from problem solving to purpose aligning. So emotional intelligence, or the emotional quotient, EQ is just really used because we know of IQ. Decades ago, author, psychologist, and journalist, now I'm going to forget his name, Daniel Goleman, coined the phrase emotional intelligence. And what he did, he said there were 5 components. There's self-awareness, self-regulation. Brent was just talking earlier about his bicycle ride to work, and EQ went out the door, and probably a little bit of self-regulation, right, Brent? So when you are in an EQ frame of mind, you've got self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, awareness of others, and then social regulation, how we work in groups. When you pull that all together, you are able to motivate based on people first. How I like to kind of drill it down to 3 components. Know thyself, know others, put those 2 together to motivate toward action. I believe that it's really important to remember motivate toward action. Motivation to feel good isn't going to do good. We have to take action. So know thyself, know others, put those together, motivate to action. So let's talk about know thyself. How can we know thyself with real data? Most of us have a pretty good idea of who we are, but we might not get our arms around it. We might not be able to label how others observe us. So when I'm working with organizations, or when I'm working with individuals, I even work with students, I work with people who are looking for a job or trying to switch jobs. I start with a behavioral style assessment. What is your observable behavior that others see of you? How you do things. I use motivational assessments. Why you do things. That's an extra layer on top of how you do things. And then EQ assessment. The great thing about the EQ assessment is your behavioral style is kind of how you're wired. Same with your motivation. But EQ are skills that can be taught and learned and practiced and improved. So if you want to be a leader that is very people oriented, it's really good to know what your strengths and weaknesses are and then train to improve so that you can continue to create this cohesive environment that involves who you are and who others are. And then, of course, as I've talked about, an action plan information to me is worthless if you don't know how to implement it. Then those assessments are called science of self assessments. I believe that knowing others is applying the knowledge of science of self, because when, as you can see, I use my hands, I'm kind of outgoing and big, and I know that's who I am, that's how I'm wired. Brent, on the other hand, I've had a few conversations, and just by a little bit of observation, I'm guessing he's a little bit more steady than I am. He's a little bit more calm than I am. So by knowing others, by knowing myself, I can then adapt so that Brent can easily hear what I want to say, and we can have a great conversation that's not based on perceptions, but based on us reaching one another and understanding one another. How do we motivate people? When we put together this know thyself, know others, we can motivate through number one, clear communication that shows that the others are seen, they can hear you, and you can hear them. Being heard is so important, and there are lots and lots of techniques. Today, we're going to go over some techniques just based on personality, but there are also communication techniques based on what you want to accomplish. If you are have a quick deadline, you communicate one way. If you're visionary and you've got a lot of time for a lot of involvement, you can communicate another way. Inspiration. I will give you an opinion. Terri has some strong opinions. That's part of who I am. I believe that we are inspired by spirituality. When you look back over time and you think of all the spiritual texts that have been written that people go to for inspiration, that's a key to us. How do we inspire spiritually? How do we make somebody connect from the deep inside to what we're doing in order to drive action? That's done by aligning our mission and vision with those who support us. And then I have an assessment that's called workplace competency assessments. And what it does, it allows organizations to say, these are the people, these are the prototypes of people that we want. You assess the people you have and you train to the gaps. Okay, going deeper. How many kittens do we have in here who look in the mirror and see themselves as lions? Thumbs up if there's any of you that see yourself as kind of fierce when you want to accomplish something. I can do this and I will. Any thumbs up? No thumbs up, no lions. I'm shocked. Okay, I'm a lion. I'll be the lion. No Leos out there? So I'm going to kind of role model a little bit about the framework of knowing myself based on your style. I'm outgoing. As an outgoing person, I'm really trusting. If you smile and you appear authentic, I'll probably trust you with too much. And I'm extremely optimistic. As you can see in the beginning, my vision is that we all have hope for the future. I believe in it. That's how I operate. When we are in a team, and we all hold different roles when we're in a team, I hold the promoter role. I'm faster paced, and I'm even faster paced today because I have so much information, I just couldn't cut it all out, that I'm going pretty fast. I understand this. All of you are going to get a copy of this PowerPoint, and I'm available for questions. You can always email me, and I'll get back to you as fast as I can. I reach goals through people, not through tasks. I influence people by talking and thinking that's going to motivate them. There are other people that influence through data, through reports. Okay, so we're going to talk about who you are, the position you hold in a team, are you fast or slow, and how do you reach goals, through people or through tasks? So you have a choice to answer the following. You can reply in the chat. You can write it down in paper, or if you're on a computer, you can pull up a Word document, or you can do both. We're going to go through this fairly quickly, but give you a chance to identify who you are. Know thyself. All right. Are you people-oriented or task-oriented? Can't say both. Which one is more dominant? Are you fast-paced, or do you respond better to an even or slower pace? There might be times when you're slower paced, but if you generally, your dominant pace is fast. Choose. Why I put these up, because these are the ways we can easily adapt first. As I said before, I know I'm faster paced. It appears that Brent's a little steadier. So when I'm talking to Brent, I might need to breathe and slow it down so it's easier for him to hear. And when I slow it down, my voice register is calmer. It comes down a bit. It's easier for slower people to absorb. I'm people-oriented, but Brent might want the to-do list. So when I go to Brent, knowing that he's task-oriented, I will approach him with the two things that I know we need to accomplish, and we'll put deadlines on it so that we work better together. Pace and people or task are the two areas that we can adapt quickly by knowing ourselves and knowing others. But wait, there's more. Okay, this or that. Are you direct or reflective? Are you competitive or conflict averse? Again, we're going for the dominant features. If you
Terri, how can you give them just a quick thing? Maybe you're going to get to it later, but how do you know if you're slow or fast, since you're sort of looking at it from your view?
Okay, great question. So I think the easiest way to know is, what do you do under stress? When we're stressed out, our features accelerate. They go under a microscope. So I get much faster when I'm nervous or whatever, or when I know that I have to get something done. There are people who will back away as soon as they feel nerves. They'll literally back away and slow down. Our data people will often not even contribute to the conversation unless asked. They'll get more quiet and they'll slow down. So under stress, what do you do? Make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Sure, thanks for the question. Okay, are you outgoing or are you reserved? Are you versatile? I'll try this, I'll try that, I like new things. Or do you like everything the same way and you're matter of fact? Our outgoing, versatile people are promoters. That's me. I'm a natural cheerleader. Are you steady, Brent? Or are you dynamic? Are you consistent, or do you like variety? Your steady, consistent people are the supporters in a group. Are you compliant, analytical, or are you pioneering and innovative? Our compliant, analytical people are our analyzers. A solid, well-functioning team has every part because we balance one another, and they give us a 360 ability to get done what we need to get done. Now, I will tell you, I'm asking you to guess at your dominant features. My dominant feature is a promoter. I will tell you that my almost as dominant feature is that I am pioneering, innovative, creative. The interesting thing about both of my strengths is that pioneering and innovative people are fast as well. So both of my strengths, I don't compete with myself. I'm just go after it. So this is a good way also, when you're talking about yourself, choose one of the words that best describes you, because that's how other people will see you and they can relate to you when you describe yourself. These are great descriptors for a bio. Okay, as we talked about before, tasks and then speed. So if you look at the vertical division, you will find that the analyzers and our supporters are slower, and that our conductors and promoters are faster. When we do the horizontal divider, the analyzers and the conductors are task-oriented, and the supporters and the promoters are people-oriented. This is a great way to draw this little graph here and put the people in your organization. Who are your analyzers? Who are your conductors? Are they fast? Are they task? Are they people? And just a glimpse at your team, you'll find out where you are and what you might do to adapt to their style. Again, you'll get this in your PowerPoint so that you can save this. Okay, no others. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. I've got about 6 minutes. Oops. So I believe that knowing others is, again, the application of what we just went through. Here's what I know about nonprofit professionals. Some of you in the midst of fundraising. Thumbs up or yay or heart if you're in the midst of fundraising. I know that when I was director of development, I was always doing some sort of fundraising. Do we have any yeses? No yeses? No thumbs up? Nobody's fundraising right now?
Yes, yes,
okay.
we're getting
Even
yeses.
grant writing is still fundraising. Most of
Always.
you are stressed by trying to juggle staffing, budgeting, operations, employee relations, board management, family responsibilities, children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Thumbs up or hearts. Do we have any people who are stressed trying to juggle numerous things, wearing so many hats? Yes? Brent, I'll just take your nod as yes. All right. Oh, thumbs up. Great. All of you face challenges negotiating personalities, communication styles, and needs within your organization and probably within your lives. I will tell you, I have one daughter who's exactly like I am, and I have one who's exactly opposite. Negotiating that has been a challenge. It's also been a great learning experience. So are all of us negotiating the different way to work with people? Yes, this is what I know. So how many would you agree that communication is the key to success in fundraising? Whether it's written through a grant, or it's working with a funder, or working with your board, or working on your case for support, making sure that everyone is on the same page, communication is key. Oops, I lost my, my forward thing. Oops, sorry. Where is that? How did I lose that? There we go. Communication is key to managing stress. Often we have to tell others, whether it's our spouses or our significant others, or our team members, or delegating, or if we're not a numbers person trying to understand what's going on in the finance office. Communication is key to managing stress. Oops. Well, now poo, I went too far. And communication is key to negotiating the needs of others. I will propose here that the better we get adopting communication techniques, we can slow down stress, we can negotiate easier, and we can be more successful at fundraising. But first, we have to understand how others perceive us as far as communication based on our styles. So, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Well, there we go. Okay, perception is key. How, if you would just quickly put in the chat, and then we'll discuss this later, but I just want some popcorn quick answers. How do you think a conductor who is direct, precise, and competitive perceives the analyzer who is slow and data-oriented and takes a whole lot of time and won't do anything quickly? Put in a word or two about what that perception might be. Do we have some people responding, Cindy?
Yeah, we're getting frustrating, annoying, incompetent, less than, lazy, boring, rash in decisions, frustrating, frustrating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How important is it when those two are in the room to understand that perception? What about the promoter? Okay. Big. I tell stories to the conductor who is direct and only wants to hear him or herself think and talk and isn't interested in time-consuming stories. What does the conductor think of the promoter?
Taking up their
Most-
time, they're loud, brash, arrogant, a competitor.
Self-absorbed. Exactly.
Yep.
Supporter to the promoter. Supporter. Now, interesting thing, the supporter and the promoter are both people-oriented, but the supporter is slower, doesn't like conflict. The promoter sometimes causes conflict because she's busy talking and doing. The real perception here, which you may or may not catch, is I like her or him, but please slow down. I don't have the energy for this. Just slow down. Let's all get along. And then the analyzer to the supporter. So the analyzer and the supporter are both slower, but the supporter is all about people and could care less about data. The analyzer only wants data. So when we look at it this way and we understand how others may perceive us, knowing ourselves, knowing the other, it gives us a foundation of how we can communicate with one another. Okay, so how do we create an EQ-enriched organization? I'm going to give you some communication techniques, and then we're going to practice. I can't go through everything. The following slides, again, you have, I suggest that you print them off and put them in your office and use these as a guide for trying some new strategies. Put know thyself plus know thy others plus people first communication, and then you have a foundation in which to motivate others toward action to support your mission and the work that you do together. Minor tweaks have major impact. When you're working with a conductor, move quickly to the purpose. Don't tell stories, give them a chance to voice their opinion. When you're working with the promoter, allow time to build rapport. Do not come to me and hand me the report without saying, hi, Terri, how are you? Break the ice first, because I'll be so off put by having to work first without you saying hello and trying to build that. It'll take me 5 minutes to get into your report. The supporter, give them time to think things through. If you've got a supporter, do not go to them and say, I've got a meeting in 10 minutes. Can you give me X, Y, and Z? Not going to happen. They'll be so rattled and then so worried that they won't please you. You've got them lost for the day. And the analyzer, prepare your case with facts, not opinions, not I'm sorry. They don't care. Show me the data. So when you're adapting to talking with the conductor, again, only thing I'm going to go through right now are these communication techniques. One thing you can do is with a conductor is mirror. So if the conductor says, well, I think we should do X, Y, and Z, then as the team leader or part of the team, you say, oh, X, Y, and Z. Use the conductor's words. It sounds phony, but it's the real way of, so what I hear you saying is, instead of that, you repeat their words. Literally, they will feel heard. You be sure to summarize what they're saying, and what you want to get to is a that's right. If you get a you're right, they will take no action. They've bagged out and it's all about you. What you want to do is summarize to the point of that's right, and be sure that you're task oriented. When you're talking to the promoter, be sure to follow up in writing. The promoter is not as detailed as others, and they're so busy about the story, they won't remember the verbal, even though that's how they communicate. Follow up in writing, ask what and how questions, particularly how. That's a great idea, Terri. I love your vision. How do you see yourself accomplishing this in 2 weeks? Let them tell you how, and then you guide them. When you're working with a supporter, again, begin with a personal comment. It might not be, hi, how are you, but a personal comment. Cindy, it's great to see you. I love that photo behind you. Tell me more about that picture. It's so beautiful. That's a personal connection. Again, this time it's how questions to draw out their opinions. Not so much implementation, but how do you see that working for our team? And the analyzer, use labels. So when they're giving you data about, let's see, the data shows that 30% of our clients are seeing progress. So the label might be, so progress to you, that's progress, 30%. Progress, could progress mean something else? So you label their data to be sure that you're connecting. Be sure and not offer opinions, and do not ad lib. Be prepared when you talk to the analyzer. So I hope you've gotten a few different techniques just by going through here. Again, save these and feel free to email me if you've got questions about how to implement these. So we're going to go into breakout groups. Do we have time? Do we have a good 7 minutes left, Brent? Okay, yay. So what we're going to do is, I want you, when we go into these breakout groups, about 3 to a room, Mark's going to put you in rooms, to check your energy, adjust your pace, and choose your words. Here's the situation. You're stressed. I mean, you're massively stressed. Nothing went right at home this morning. One of your team members is sick. You've got a board meeting in 2 days, and you have to present the financials. The financials aren't prepared. And all of a sudden, the board president calls you and says, I just met a new donor who's really interested in what we do. I want to bring them by and I want you to meet them. You don't have time for it. It's out of the blue. This is a surprise. So what you're going to do when you go in is you're going to talk to the board member and that donor, and you say, introduce yourself, give yourself the title, talk a little bit about the mission of your organization, and then ask them a question about how they'd like you to connect, what they're most interested in the connection with their mission. And that's it. You have 1 minute. 1 minute is approximately 120 words, 1 paragraph. That's it.
Yep.
Okay. So under stress, observable behaviors intensify. I talked about that a moment ago. It's a good awareness for us. So those of you who got to start to introduce and practice, raise your hand and tell me how it went. Let's have some input about how that went. You'll have to. I don't see the hand, so somebody could call on.
I saw
Okay.
Katie Andrews had her hand up first.
I got a very second to kind of start to introduce myself, but I would like to hear more about how to connect the mission to the donors, experience to make them more motivated to take action. I didn't quite get that far in the introduction, so I think
Okay.
that's where I hesitated, was because I didn't really, while I'm really passionate about our mission, I'm not sure how to evoke that out of a donor in less than 60 seconds. So
Exactly.
yeah, good try, I guess.
Okay, we'll address that in a few minutes.
Okay.
Kristen has her hand up.
So my initial was, we're in the room. I need to read the instructions again so that I can complete it correctly. And so that was kind of my response. And somebody in our room had taken a screenshot, so they were reading the instructions, and then she like zipped through her introduction, and then all of a sudden we're like, breakout rooms are closing in 13 seconds. And we're like, oh no.
So Kristen, was
So-
it stressful not to know what the instructions were?
Yes, because I heard them, but they came so fast that I hadn't like I got the introduction, give my title, but then it was like, okay, the last two were like I know we're supposed to say something about mission and try to get them to donate, but I'm like, I'm lost.
So perfect example. So I just threw it out there. Kristen needs more time to absorb what's being asked of her. And that's the perfect example of how in an EQ environment, I take a time with Kristen and I might ask that qualifying question of, so Kristen, how do you think you're going to be able to do this? Again, it's that how question. She feeds it back to me and we have this discussion that connects the two of us of how to achieve what we both want to achieve together. That's great, Kristen. Thanks for your input. Kimberly, I see your hands up.
There were two supporters and neither one of us really wanted to put ourselves out there and really talk. So we kind of stared at each other and then eventually we came around to it, but the time was ending before we were comfortable to step forward.
Great, great. Again, how we group people, how we ask people, the time that we ask people, and in order to get things done together. So one more.
From Shara.
So I was in a room with Selena and she said, shall I go first? And I said, absolutely. She introduced herself. She gave a quick tagline of her organization. And I found what bubbled up in me was information about data. Like I wanted to know about data. So I saw my analyzer coming out and Selena was ready before we got, blipped back. She had it at the top of mind and was ready to go. But it was very effective in how you set this up so that before she went into a deeper pitch, she paused, she listened, and she wanted to know, what did I want to know to go further? So very effective.
Wonderful. So somebody else had asked earlier, how do you connect? And we'll go into it a little bit more during question and answer, but one of those ways is that pause, giving a pause, a question and a pause. Sometimes we're afraid of that silence. And then great awareness that you could feel the need for wanting data. That's great. So we're going to go back in and we're going to try this again, but we're going to do it a little differently. All I want is, we're not going to go over name this time, just your mission and some sort of how can we work together? What is your passion? What resonates about that mission? One of those kinds of questions. But before we do that, I'd like everybody to stand up again. Yep, I need you to stand up again. So this is an exercise, Kimberly, I can see you're not standing. I just called you out, I'm so sorry. So this is something that actors and singers often use, but it's something that you all can use in your staff meetings. It's a technique that you can also use with board meetings. So I don't want it to feel woo-woo, but let's all kind of take a deep breath. And when you breathe, the space between your chest and your belly button, I want you to fill that with as much air as you can. Hold it for a second and then let it out. So ready? Just kind of inhale. And exhale. Now I want your feet to be shoulder width apart. I want you to kind of feel as if there's something below the ground that is pulling your feet toward below the ground where you are so firmly standing and grounded. And this time we're going to take another breath. Put your hands on your stomach. And I want you to fill your stomach with air. Just fill your as much as you can when you breathe, grounded and breathing. Ready? Take a deep breath. And exhale. So now you can sit down. When we ground ourselves, not by keeping all of the talk in our head, but putting the conversation in our bodies, we're able to slow down a little bit and be a little bit more confident. So we're going to go back into the rooms, take that deep breath or feel your feet below your chair, feeling grounded, and then talk about your mission and make an ask in a grounded position. So when you're grounded and when the conversation leaves your chest and head and is pulled throughout your body, generally you can speak at a slower pace and you're more clear in your communication. Did anybody thumbs up if you felt that was any different? I don't know if you had time to really feel the difference in being grounded, but do we have any thumbs up going on? We don't have time to discuss it. I'd like to discuss it, but try this. This is a strategy you can try in your meetings, and particularly fundraising. Fundraising is stressful. And even if you're writing a grant, if you can ground yourself and then get the words out of your head onto the paper, it is helpful. So as we move, I want to be sure I've got a few minutes for question and answer. Quick little story and a gift. All right. Yeah, that's me right there in the center. I'm a former Chiefs cheerleader, and last November we had our 60th reunion. We danced on the field during halftime. I thought it was ridiculous. I don't know how I got talked into it. I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I don't need to be out on this field, but all my friends wanted me to participate. So as we're getting ready, we were in the players' tunnel, and we're getting ready to go out for halftime. I'm a little nervous, but okay, fine. I agreed to do this. I'm following through. We get out onto the field, and the lights are bright because it was dusk. You could see the sun setting over the edge of Arrowhead Stadium. It's packed. There are 70,000 plus people in there. As we come down the sidelines, all the fans are cheering, and they are so excited to see us. They're leaning over, wanting to take selfies with us, giving us high fives. And I thought, whoa, even as I'm telling you this, I'm kind of getting goosebumps. We went out onto the field. It was totally the best experience I've had in years. It was exhilarating. I had no idea how exciting it would be. And afterwards I thought, okay, I'm a leadership trainer and coach. And what does this mean? Why was I so excited? And I realized it was the ultimate EQ environment. The cheerleaders know their purpose is to excite the fans. The fans respond with high fives and selfies and cheering and excitement. When something happens on the field and the players want the fans to get excited, I saw Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines as they had just I think stopped a touchdown or something, and he's doing this to the fans. Get up, get up, get up. He's inspiring them. They respond to inspire the players. The coaches understand the plays to go back and forth. There's all this reciprocal emotion going on, and together, everyone, the cheerleaders, the fans, the coaches, the vendors, the players, are working toward one goal, which is to win. It was unbelievable and an amazing leadership lesson for me. So I invite you to practice knowing yourself and knowing others, to inspire everyone within your organization, to motivate everyone to work together to accomplish the same goal. I am a authorized assessment provider. I have a bundle of assessments, your DISC, your motivational drivers, and EQ. Normally it cost me $82. I called and said, I have this opportunity to really make a difference for nonprofits in Kansas City. Would you be willing to slow down the report and give it to me for $10? And they agreed. So if you go here, you can go from guessing what your EQ is and what your style is to learning what it is. Take the assessment, I'll get the report, and you'll get a free hour with me where I'll provide context and meaning to your assessments to give you some grounding of how you might move forward to increase an EQ-inspired environment within your organization. So I think that, Brent, would you pop this into the chat?
It's been Mark's put it up there. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, from my heart to yours, thank you so much. I think we've got about 5-6 minutes for question and answers. Cindy, what was the first question?
Yeah, so can you just talk about some strategies when you're trying to shift your own communication? How do you, what are some things that you can, do for yourself as you're trying to sort of work with other people?
So I believe it or not, it starts with you. It's that old fashioned put your mask on before you put your child's mask on, oxygen mask, which I used to think was ridiculous because I wanted it for my child, but it's true. If you know yourself and you're really aware, what happens is there's a part of your brain called the reticular activation system, your RAS system. When you start thinking about how do I act? How do others perceive us? What am I doing? Am I fast? Am I slow? You'll start seeing more of it. It opens a pathway in our brain to notice it. It's the same reason why when you go buy a purple or red car and you think you're the only one, as soon as you drive off the lot, everybody else has a purple or red car because you're seeing it. You've activated that in your brain. And once you recognize who you are, then you start watching how you interact with people. And you realize the people in your life who are different, who have different styles. I now quickly, because I've been doing this for several years, can pretty well tell what your dominant style is. I'm not always right, but most of the time. And when you know whether to slow down or speed up, whether to talk about facts or to inspire through people, through cheerleading, you really do connect on a different level, but it starts by just being aware. Did that answer the question?
I believe so. So can you talk a little bit about when maybe people are not the one who's leading the team or the group or something, and how you, when you're not the one sort of guiding all the personalities in the room and you don't have, how do you kind of maneuver from that position, from a position that's not the authority in this situation?
I love that question. An EQ-inspired environment will allow input from everyone, because the purpose is that we are all working together. But one of the things you can start in trying to enrich your own environment, and you're not a decision maker, is to manage up. And you have to have the courage and the grit within you to want to do that, because it can be intimidating. But you can start with questions like, to your supervisor or to your colleague or to a clinician that you might be working with. How would you recommend that I best can serve this organization in blank? So whatever the situation is that you're seeing, I've really noticed that there's some conflict and it feels like I'm not hearing everyone. What would you recommend? How can I best serve you and the organization with this situation? So you label the situation, you call it out, and you manage up by getting input so that they see where you are. And it's always for the betterment of the organization and how you all work together. It's a great question. There's a book by Chris Voss called Never Split the Difference. It's a great book. You have to read it with an open mind to catch communication techniques. But he talks a lot about how to negotiate. He was an FBI investigator, and he literally negotiated peace and kidnappings and those kinds of things, but talks about the tools. And he talks about the question of how can I best? It's a great tool.
We have like a minute. If there's a small question, we can jump in. If not, we'll let Brett. Go ahead.
Well, if somebody wants to jump in, we can. If not, I really do want to thank Terri for doing this. I think first off, experientially, it's wonderful getting up, moving. I found out my left thumb was on top, so I'm a reasoner, I guess. My wife would disagree, I think. So it's great. It's great that we were able to walk through this. I encourage you all to check out Terri's link. Also, please note we put in a feedback form just now into the chat, and we take that very seriously. We look forward to seeing you at the DEI navigation series coming up in May, I believe May 17th. It's a lunchtime one, just so you know, so you can mark it on your calendars. And otherwise, thanks again, Terri, for a great day.
Thank you.
and we'll see everybody again in the near future.